John William Godward. While Picasso's Cubism shook the world, he chose a solitary exile beyond walls of marble. The world branded him a stranger to his age, but was that truly all? In the realm of John William Godward, silence is not merely the absence of sound. It is a deliberate, aestheticized confinement. Feeling an instinctive dread toward the clamour of a rapidly modernizing century, he constructed a sanctuary of marble and light, not to celebrate life, but to escape it. But even within this absolute equilibrium, a minute friction, a human pulse begins to emerge. Here we encounter what the German critic Gotthold Ephraim Lessing termed the pregnant moment. It is that breathless, singular instant that holds the silent tension of what is about to happen, the split second before a bubble bursts or a silence is shattered. A slender stylus, held with playful grace, threatens to puncture the eternal Apollonian slumber of her companion. This mischief is not a mere prank. It is a micro-rebellion against the artist's own demand for absolute stasis. Godward, terrified by the progress of his own time, sought refuge within the frozen perfection of an idealized Roman past. Yet, the subtle hint of what happens next, the impending consequence of this prank, disturbs the silence of this embalmed world. It is a minute fragment of future time, disrupting the sanctuary that was supposed to be forever still. When the prank fails to land, we are left with a silence so heavy it becomes tactile. In the tepidarium, we witness a thermal dialectic, a quiet struggle between the warmth of living skin and the mineral coldness of stone. Notice how Godward chooses a palette of soft pinks and creams for the marble to mimic the natural flush of the human body. This is a deceptive aesthetic technique used to blur the line between the organic and the inorganic, making the living woman appear as though she is already merging into the architecture. This is the visual peak of reification, a psychological retreat where a person ceases to be a subject and becomes a statuesque object of beauty. The rigid verticality of the columns acts as a psychological cage, framing her soft curves in a way that suggests entombment rather than protection. In this hyper-realistic void, beauty is safe from the entropy of time, but it comes at the cost of its own soul. The circular frame, or tondo, is far more than a decorative choice. It functions as a centripetal psychological lens that traps the viewer's eye. Unlike a square window that suggests an outside world, the circle mimics the human eye, creating what Leibniz called a monadic space, a world without windows to the exterior. The subject's downward gaze marks an internal migration, a refusal to be consumed by our gaze, choosing instead to dwell in the sanctuary of her own melancholy. The violets in her hand, flowers of Proserpina in classical myth, are symbols of the threshold between life and the underworld. Their organic fragility creates a vanitas contrast with the cold, eternal marble behind her. In this circle, beauty is attained only when it is frozen at the precise moment of its decay. As the view expands onto the terrace, the perceived liberation is an illusion, a curated artifice where the wild has been domesticated into a decorative surface. The tortoise, moving with the slow rhythm of geological time, synchronizes the heartbeat of the painting with a rhythm of absolute mineral stillness. The Mediterranean horizon remains frozen, a landscape where even the sea has been stripped of its motion to serve as a backdrop for this stagnant perfection. In this expanded vacuum, time does not flow. It merely occupies space, heavy and motionless, mirroring the indifference of the marble path beneath the creature's feet. We now face the profound boredom that the philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer called the weight of existence. When every desire is met and every surface is perfect, life becomes a state of spiritual paralysis, a prison made of silk and stone. The tiger skin represents a semiotic neutering of the will to live. A once fierce Dionysian vitality has been hunted, tamed, and turned into a cold ornament to cushion a body that has forgotten how to move. Behind the vibrant bloom of youth, there lies the quiet warning of memento mori, the ancient reminder that even the most beautiful flower is born to fade. The peacock feathers and poppies are symbols of vanity and sleep, a dream that will inevitably vanish when the sun sets on this Roman afternoon. For the first time, the muse looks back at us, questioning our own voyeurism. This direct address is a phenomenological reversal. She is no longer the object. She is the observer of our own transient reality. She watches the slow entropy of the world outside her marble frame, safe but solitary in her immortal cage. In a fair reflection, the mirror becomes a symbol of vanitas, the artistic theme that reflects the futility of chasing earthly shadows. This is a Lacanian trap of self-observation, where the subject's identity is fragmented by the overwhelming, cold patterns of the stone. We see only her profile. She denies us her full gaze, as she loses herself in a reflection, drowned by the patterns of the polychrome stone. The lone white rose on the table is the final witness to the inevitable decay that awaits even this porcelain-like reality. John William Godward eventually chose what we can call an aesthetic exodus, a final escape from a world that had no more room for his vision of an untainted past. "The world is not big enough for me and a Picasso," he declared, a final silent rebellion against the encroaching tide of modernism. His suicide was not a surrender, but the terminal stroke of a man who refused to breathe the dust of a fractured century. Godward did not merely paint the past, he constructed a timeless vacuum where beauty could attain immortality at the exact moment he himself disappeared.